To have freedom almost within one's grasp, and yet to be denied it was maddening. Withdrawing his arm from the aperture, he removed his hunting knife from his scabbard, and, again reaching outward, pressed the point of the blade into the wood of the bar. At first he tried lifting the bar by this means, but his knife point only pulled out of the wood. Next he attempted to move the bar backward in a horizontal plane, and in this he was successful. Though the distance that he had moved it in one effort was small, he was satisfied, for he knew that patience would win its reward. Never more than 1/4 of an inch, sometimes only 1/16 of an inch at a time, Tarzan slowly worked the bar backward. He worked methodically and carefully, never hurrying, never affected by nervous anxiety, although he never knew at what moment a savage warrior priest of Opar might make his rounds. And at last his efforts were rewarded, and the door swung upon its hinges. Stepping quickly out, Tarzan shot the bar behind him and, knowing no other avenue of escape, turned back up the corridor along which his captors had conducted him to his prison cell. Faintly in the distance he discerned a lessening darkness, and toward this he moved upon silent feet. As the light increased slightly, he saw that the corridor was about 10 feet wide, and that at irregular intervals it was pierced by doors, all of which were closed and secured by bolts or bars. 100 yards from the cell in which he had been incarcerated, he crossed a transversed corridor, and here he paused an instant to investigate with palpitating nostrils and keen eyes and ears. In neither direction could he discern any light, but faint sounds came to his ears, indicating that life existed somewhere behind the doors along this corridor, and his nostrils were assailed by a medley of scents: the sweet aroma of incense, the odor of human bodies, and the acrid scent of carnivores. But there was nothing there to attract his further investigation, so he continued on his way along the corridor toward the rapidly increasing light ahead. He had advanced but a short distance when his keen ears detected the sound of approaching footsteps. Here was no place to risk discovery. Slowly he fell back toward the transverse corridor, seeking to take concealment there until the danger had passed. But it was already closer than he had imagined, and an instant later 6 priests of Opar turned into the corridor from one just ahead of him. They saw him instantly and halted, peering through the gloom.
"It is the ape-man,"
said one.
"He has escaped."
And with their knotted cudgels and their wicked knives, they advanced upon him. That they came slowly evidenced the respect in which they held his prowess, but still they came, and Tarzan fell back, for even he, armed only with a knife, was no match for 6 of these savage half-men with their heavy cudgels. As he retreated, a plan formed quickly in his alert mind, and when he reached the transverse corridor, he backed slowly into it. Knowing that now he was hidden from them and they would come very slowly, fearing that he might be lying in wait for them, he turned and ran swiftly across the corridor. He passed several doors, not because he was looking for any door in particular, but because he knew that the more difficult it was for them to find him, the greater his chances of eluding them. But at last he paused before one secured by a huge wooden bar. Quickly he raised it, opened the door, and stepped within just as the leader of the priests came into view at the intersection of the corridor. The instant that Tarzan stepped into the dark and gloomy chamber beyond, he knew that he had made a fatal blunder. Strong in his nostrils was the acrid scent of Numa the lion. The silence of the pit was shattered by a savage roar. In the dark background, he saw 2 yellow-green eyes flaming with hate, and then the lion charged.